Hey guys, Dwayne here. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about the narcissistic fog. In this video, I'm going to go over a little bit about what it is, how it makes you feel, projection, how the person will project things onto you to cause it, arguments, which also help basically induce that narcissistic fog, and then some tips on how to deal with it. So the first thing is what is it? Okay, so basically it's, like when you're in a fog, you really can't see a whole heck of a lot. You're kind of just focused on whatever you can see in front of you because that's really the vision you have. So basically the narcissistic fog is like a state of confusion. You're not really sure what's going on. You're kind of in a haze. You're not seeing things clearly. You're really only seeing what they want you to see. They're also going to basically do things that will emotionally deregulate you. And that ties into the confusion. Basically, it'll be things where if you're having a good day, they'll probably do something just to throw you out of it. It's like it's almost like if you're having a good day and they didn't decide that you can have a good day, then they'll do something to pull the rug out from underneath you. They'll start an argument, or they'll bring up something just to kind of throw you off. Part of that is it's a control tactic, right? I mean, so what they're doing is they are trying to throw you off. They are trying to get you back into the space or the mindset that they want you in, which makes it easier for them to control you. Now, the thing is, on that, how does it make you feel? Okay, and the reason I bring this up is because if you can see that it's going on, or you see that you're in the middle of it, it can help you understand it and regain control of yourself. So, I mean, the first thing, like I said, it's going to make you feel confused, like I was talking about before. It's going to make you feel off balanced. It's going to make you question yourself. You're going to be questioning whether you're seeing things correctly. Now, this can come up in a bunch of different ways. Now, I mean, there's basically two kinds of, in my opinion, there's two kinds of ways this kind of plays out. One is a more overt way, which I've talked about in the past, and typically, not always, but typically, a guy kind of will fall into the more overt category, where it'll be more in your face, more aggressive, more accusations and stuff like that, which will, that's tough in and of itself. But it produces the same thing, right? I mean, if you're experiencing that, then you're going to be confused. You're going to be off balance. You're going to be questioning yourself. I mean, it's more in your face, right? They'll be saying stuff directly to you that you just know your brain is saying this isn't true, this isn't right. Now, the flip side to that is a more passive aggressive, or the more covert narcissistic type of way of doing things, where then it's really subtle. It's little comments. It's little, I was talking to someone the other day, and we were talking about different ways that this could come up. And when I was talking to her, we were talking about the comment of do I look fat? Do I look fat in this dress or in these clothes? And we were thinking about it, and it's like, okay, well, it's kind of that's kind of a lose-lose question, because the answer is either yes or no. But think about it this way: what if you answered, oh, not in that dress? It's like, oh, wait a minute. So do I look bad in other stuff? And it was kind of interesting, because when we were talking about it, it was like we came up with that response, and it's almost sometimes the weird part is like it's hard to think of those things. It's hard to come up with it. And it was like, so we were running down this laundry list of things that could be said and it kind of rolls into the whole argument thing I want to talk to you in a minute. But just to kind of run this thought through, okay, so for instance, if you said to me, oh, do I look good in this dress? And I go, well, yeah, you look good in that one. And then if you were like, well, wait a minute, what does that mean? And then, you could come back and go, well, why are you getting so defensive? I said you look good in that one. What are you talking about? I mean, I said, no, or actually you probably wouldn't even do that. You probably say, I said you look good, right? I mean, so it makes you question yourself on, well, they were just being, they were being positive, or, you start questioning yourself because they can tie it into a comment that makes sense, right? And you want to. Your brain is probably telling you to run for the hills, but at the same time, part of you is telling you, oh no, this isn't, everything is fine. You're just being oversensitive. You'll attack yourself to say, oh no, that's not what it was. But see, but the whole point of it is to throw you off, to make you question yourself, to make you, feel like you're losing your mind. I mean, it's and it produces a fog, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. You're in this state where you're not really sure what end is up. It's like being in a fog bank where if you're walking a certain direction and you think you're walking towards your car, hypothetically, but you run into a wall because you can't see and you went in the wrong direction. Now, the next part of this is projection. Okay, and what they're going to do on that is they are going to basically turn around and place their feelings on you, their insecurities, their fears, sometimes it's even what they're doing, right? I mean, if they're doing something, I'm trying to, on the guy side, I mean, not on the guy side, on let's just say the cheating side. Very, very typical that if somebody is cheating, they will accuse you of cheating. If you're out too late, well, why are you out so late? Who are you talking to? Why are you talking to somebody, or why are you talking to them? If you're, if you're a guy and you're talking to a girl, well, why are you talking to him? Who's that? Why do you need to talk to him? I mean, it's just, it's stupid stuff like that. And so now that doesn't necessarily mean they are cheating, but that's what I'm talking about with projection. They will project things onto you. And the crazy part about it is sometimes, especially when it's subtle, you might actually believe it. I had, I'm trying to think of a good example of this, but I was just talking to someone the other day who kind of fell under this, and I had to walk them through a process. Now, this was a work thing, but what I was doing is I was basically saying, okay, running through this scenario, and they were criticizing me and completely defending this other person. Oh, this other person is the greatest thing in the world and everything. And finally, I walked them into a point where they validated, even though they didn't know they do it, validated what the person was doing. And it was really interesting because that person was projecting what they were doing towards someone else. And in this particular situation, this person was buying into it. And when we got to that point, and I said, basically, do you see what's going on? And they just looked like it looked like the fog had cleared, and they had a clearer picture of what's going on. So it comes up in different ways. I mean, that was a non-relationship sort of situation. You're probably dealing with it in a romantic relationship situation, and it can come up different ways, right? It can be the overt, in your face, yelling at you because you did something, and they're over controlling because they think that you're doing what they're doing, or it's really subtle and covert. And as I've said before, personally, okay, they're all bad. I mean, it's hard to say because I mean, there's people in an overt state, they stay too. I guess maybe in some ways I'm saying that in a covert situation, it's easier to be tricked. So maybe I'm giving myself a pass, so to speak, because I didn't see it. But it's all the same. It's all the same. I mean, bottom line is it's not appropriate behavior towards you. Whether it's overt or covert, or passive aggressive, it's not good, the fact that you've stayed with it or enabled it or whatever, is basically a really big demonstration or indicator that, you have your own issues that you need to deal with. And if you're watching this video, you're working on that, and I applaud you on that, because you need to. And the more you figure this stuff out, the happier you're going to be. There's going to be things on here that aren't going to be, that you're going to go through, that aren't going to be fun and easy, and they're going to be painful. And the one thing is, and I'll just make this as a small mention, because I'm going to make a video about this too. When you find somebody who treats you right, and you haven't been treated right, and you're used to not being treated right because of your last relationship, because of the way you grew up with your parents, and then more than likely the way the people you surrounded yourself with kind of help reinforce this feeling or opinion of yourself. When you find somebody that treats you right, it is going to blow your mind and cause you all kinds of anxieties, because it's not going to make any sense. You're going to have this whole life experience where people have treated you certain ways and things have happened a certain way, and when somebody completely comes in and does the absolute opposite of that, but doing it in the way that you always wanted the other person to treat you, it's going to mess with your head. I've experienced that. I was fortunate enough that in the relationship I'm in, the person, understood what was going on and basically gave me some time to work through it. But it was a really, that in and of itself was a difficult situation. And you wouldn't think of it being difficult. You would think, oh, well, if you find somebody that treats you the way you should be treated and treats you with respect and respects your boundaries, that you would be, overjoyed, and you will be, but it'll also mess with you too. So I kind of went off on a tangent there, but the whole thing with the projection is them placing their feelings and their fears and their emotion towards you, and they're able to do it in such a way that you'll actually, rolling back up to what I said before, you're going to question yourself. You're going to be thinking, am I going crazy? Maybe. If they're accusing you of something you're obviously not doing, that's one thing. But if they're doing stuff like, I know you were someplace, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a scenario, someone said, Billy said, they saw you, here. And then, at some point you might be like, well, was I there? You'll do it. You'll like, okay, well, maybe I was. Did I go there? Where was I that day? Was it a different day? Stuff like that. And it's just throwing you off, which then leads into, and these all basically tie together. It's, arguments, right? A projection kind of rolls into starting arguments for no apparent reason. Or it seems like no apparent reason. You could be having a good day, and that'll be the day that, you always, you never. That's what I used to like to call them. You always do X and you never do, you never do this. And it's like, what? And it kind of throws you off. You're just like, whoa, wait a minute, what happened? It's like, comes out of left field. And it's done to keep you off balance. So think about it. If you're experiencing any of this, if any of this is making sense, think about this for a minute. Okay, think back to the last time that happened, and think about it. Okay, so you had the argument. So you're thinking about the argument. Move a little bit before the argument. More than likely, you were probably in a really good mood, having a really good day. Something good had happened. You got a good deal on something. You did good on a report. You did good on something at work. Or your kids did something. Whatever it is, something was good, and then out of nowhere, bam! You get hit with something that just kind of like, whoa! What happens? It keeps you off balance. It kind of emotionally it does. It emotionally deregulates you. You're like in this, whoa, what just happened thing. You're kind of like, freaked out. But think about that, right? And the sad part, guys, is if you haven't experienced any of this, and you try to explain this to somebody and they don't understand it or they don't have any background in this, they'll think that you're just, like something's wrong with you because, well, that doesn't make any sense. Because why would someone do that? Why would someone, especially with someone that they're in a relationship that they care about, quote unquote, care about, why would they do that? And in a normal thing, you wouldn't, right? You'd be happy for them. You'd want to stay in that happy mode a little bit longer. And so it's all about control and keeping you, not allowing you. It's like, okay, so if I'm the narcissist, it's like if I decide that you can be happy, it's like, okay, I've decided, you can be happy now, but I get to make you happy. I get to pat you on the head, or I get to do something to make you feel good. And then whenever I'm done with it and I don't want, okay, you felt good enough, and then stop. Even just thinking about it and just reminiscing about some of the experience I've had, and I'm sure if you're watching this and you're taking that mental step backwards, you're probably going, "Holy cow! You're right," And that's kind of what happened with me as I started going through this. It's like these epiphanies would pop up, and it would just blow. It's like just, the fog being lifted, the sun coming up and the fog burning off, and you're like, holy cow. So anyway, so back on that. So they'll do the argument thing to basically regain control and, throw you off balance, off kilter, to try to get that control back and to get you back in the position that they feel comfortable with. Okay. So how do you deal with it? It's a good question. The first thing that you have to do is you have to recognize what it is. You have to know what you're dealing with. And the really sad part about it is, it's one thing if you've broken up with somebody, and you have some physical separation from them, and then you figure out what it is, because you can kind of deal with it in your own space, and you can work on yourself. But if you're with somebody and you recognize this, it changes the whole dynamic, because you can't have that fog lifted, you can't have the blinders taken off, and realize what you're dealing with, and not have it just completely mess with your head. Now, hopefully, you have an opportunity to have space, and give yourself the space to deal with it. This is an important reoccurring theme on this whole thing. You have to give yourself space to where you can basically calm yourself down and not just get overwhelmed by the emotions and the stress and the trauma and of all of it, because it will mess with your head. So that's really the key, and it's on all of this. In the video I talked about before about gaslighting, it was the same thing, right? It's like, okay, recognize what it is. Recognize that if something's happening, okay, they're projecting on me. Don't say it out loud. You don't want to confront one of these type of people with this type of stuff, because it'll just make it worse. And maybe it's probably a good thing I can say I say that, because what you don't want to do when you start realizing this stuff, don't accuse them of it. Just keep, hold your cards close to the vest and learn as much as you can on how to deal with it. Because if you attack them, it'll induce what is called a narcissistic injury, and things get bizarre really fast. And they'll start trashing you with other people. They'll play all kinds of different games. They'll be trying to suck you back in one side while trying to destroy you on another side. Just keep your calm, keep your cool, give yourself some space, and recognize that you're in a really difficult situation, and learn as much as you can so that you have the skill set to protect yourself. And then if you have kids involved in this, it just complicates the crap out of it. Because and I've talked about this before too. They've also been living in this environment and dealing with it, and they've learned how to survive. And you can't just tell them what's going on either. That's going to be a long process in and of itself. So, main thing on how to deal with it is you have to recognize what it is and accept what it is. And one thing I want to add on to that, and this is an experience I've had, and from what I've heard, other people have had the same thing. So you'll probably have it too. Is these behaviors are so bizarre that you just don't want to believe that they're real. So you will question yourself on it, even after you understand it. Think about it. Even after you understand what's going on and you had some time to deal with it, your brain is still going to mess with you on this. So that being the case, don't give yourself a hard time when you're first figuring this out and thinking, how long is this going to take to recover? How long is this going to, is it going to take me to get over this? It's going to take a while, and that's okay. You have to give yourself the time, you have to give yourself the space to heal, but you also have to give yourself the time to heal. And I know, boy do I know, that's not what you want to hear. You want to hear, like I wanted to hear, what can I do quickly to get over this? Well, if you've been, a victim of this type of stuff, it's not gonna be easy. But you have to work on it, because if you don't, your chances of dropping back into a relationship with somebody who does basically the same thing is really high. And so think about this too. When you roll the clock back, there may be warning signs you saw early on, but they also played you in the beginning. They did, they told you what you wanted to hear. They found out everything about what makes you tick, to say the right things, to make you feel, like this is the one. This is awesome. This is, oh my God, I found the greatest person. That last person, that was just a mistake, but this person is better. Give yourself time and space to get out of the fog. Figure this out so that you don't do it again. Okay, so I kind of went off on a tangent there. I just wanted to talk about this because, it's something that I'm more than likely you're dealing with, you're trying to figure out, and it's not a lot of fun. I give you that one. So, but you can get through it. You can figure it out. The more you learn about all of it, I know I keep saying the same thing over and over again. The more you'll learn about how to deal with it to minimize the blowback on yourself, and help you get through it faster and better. I say faster, and realistically, there's no real fast way to do it. In my opinion, the fast way is from the time that you realize what's going on, you realize what you're dealing with, because prior to the point that you knew what's going on and you've been dealing in these situations and you've been, in this narcissistic fog, and you've been dealing with gaslighting, and you've been dealing with manipulation, and you've been dealing with all the stuff that goes on with it. As soon as you figure out what it is, and you can, for lack of a better word, that you can label it, and just enough to where you can say, okay, this person I'm dealing with falls into this pattern, and it makes sense. That's the first step. That's the first step, guys. Once you figure that part out, and then you start moving through it, and you start learning, you're going to have these emotional roller coasters where you're going to feel really great, and then you're going to crash, and you're going to go up and down, and that's just part of the process. And just keep keep plugging along, do what you need to do to keep yourself, basically calm and grounded and sane, and just work through it. I mean, that's the key on all this. And as you do that, that fog will start dissipating. It'll start going away. And the nice part about it, if you can call it nice, is if the fog starts rolling in, you'll be able to see it. You'll have the skill set to go, hey, I've seen this mist before. I know what it is. And you can either get yourself out of it or do something to stop it. Okay, so on that, I'm going to wrap this up. You know what, guys? Just, and I know I say this a lot too, just be kind to yourself. Give yourself the space and the time to heal and to work on yourself. Know that you can get through this, that it does get better, and that, you have a whole nother life, waiting on the other side. And if you have kids, you have the opportunity, by figuring all this stuff out, you have the opportunity to help them break the cycle of either turning into a narcissist themselves, or turning into a codependent person with no, emotional boundaries. I mean, both of those are bad. I mean, both of those are bad. And if you can fix it in such a way, fixing, I guess, is kind of maybe too much of a word on that, but if you can help your kids along to have a healthy relationship in the future, I mean, just think about it. Just take a step back. And if you're watching this channel, then you've gone through something. And that something may have been short term, it may have been, medium term, or in my situation, it may, it was long. I mean, it was a really long marriage. And I know now that there was stuff even before that did it, that had to do with it. So think about it. If you could break the cycle, and your kids don't have to go through what you went through, I mean, how do you put a price on that? I mean, that's what I'm hoping. My hope is that my kids, when they become adults, and that's rapidly coming up, that, maybe, just maybe, they won't fall into this stuff. Maybe they can break the cycle, and they can find and build relationships that are positive, and they're supportive, and, all that stuff that everyone deserves, that's what it should be. And people just get complacent or programmed to think that they don't deserve it, that it's not normal, that you just have to accept what you get, that that's all you're worth, and it's bullshit. I mean, no. If you're not with somebody who treats you with respect and recognizes your boundaries, get them the heck out of there. You don't need to be around that person. There is nothing good there. Not to say that everyone has issues and stuff, but there's a difference, right? I mean, there is the healthy relationship, confusion and communication and learning and all that kind of stuff. And then there's the stuff that's just not right, and you don't want yourself, and you definitely don't want your kids to go through that. All right, so I went off on another tangent, so sorry about that. So on that, I'm going to wrap this up. I hope that this video helped you recognize the fog, maybe give you some ways to kind of blow it out, and hopefully it helped you out. You know what? I'm not even going to do the whole like, share thing. If you guys know what to do if you want to do it. Hopefully, if you like this video, I hope it helped you. I hope this stuff is helping you. You're not alone. There's a lot of different people going through the same stuff, and they're getting through it, which means you have the opportunity to get through it. You can get through it. You will get through it, and your life will be better. It will. Just know that. All right. So on that, I'm going to get out of here. And I will talk to you guys on the next one. So take care. Bye.